Hello, this is Amber Smith with 200fingersandtoes.com, and I am so excited to have another session with you for the Homeschool Moms Summer Summit. So today we are going to be talking about learning all year long. I know we're talking about learning in the summertime and how we can maximize this period, maybe how we can explore some homeschooling concepts, maybe we can change up our schedule, make some changes. And so I've shared 2 other sessions about how we are creative with our time and also how we free up more time for me to pursue my goals as a mom. But today I want to share about unit studies, and summer is a great time for you to explore unit studies in a few different ways. And I'm going to share some ideas with you. So if you've ever considered unit studies, or maybe as your children have gotten older, you have multiple ages of children and you're thinking like, I would really like to consolidate some part of our school. I homeschool 10 kids, and we have used a curriculum that is basically uses a unit study type approach, and I'm going to share a little bit about that and how we use it. But that has helped us to never have more than 3 grades at any one time. So even when I had a K through 12 school, I personally only taught 2 separate grades. Why is that? Because my oldest kids had reached that high school level, and so they were working independently on their own grade together as a group. So I would just check in with them. And then I only had 2 other groups. I did a middle school and like an elementary. So it was really a great way to break up tons of curriculum and make those core subjects something we could do together. So we're going to talk about learning all year long, creating summer unit studies. So first of all, talk a little bit about unit studies. Any time of the school year, you can do a unit study. So this is something that, can just break up a time period. You can fit it into any time period. Maybe you have a break between your curriculum. Maybe you bought a curriculum last year or the year before and it finished out early. We do only 30 weeks. So we do a 30-week school year. And so we are finished with school and gloriously enjoying it. But maybe you fell short and you still have time on your calendar that you need to fill. So a unit study is a great way to maybe fill up a couple of weeks and explore a topic. So a couple of the reasons, here's 4 reasons why people would use a unit study. So one of the reasons is to strengthen academic weaknesses. So maybe you have an area where your child is struggling, or maybe you have an area that just you need to remediate and go over a little bit further. I'm going to show you some examples of some things I use. So I got the setup, I'm a little further away. So, but helping your child, giving them a little bit more time to learn or study on a certain topic, or if it's a topic maybe you have missed. So this is an example of we wanted to do some more time in STEM study. And so I had pulled together a little bit of a STEM skills unit study for the kids to do. And this was more of an independent work. So I just want to share a little bit about the books we did. So we had this great little engineering. I'm sure you've seen this Rosie Revere's little book, and it's just about engineering. But there was also a little journal workbook that had all kinds of fun activities to go with it. And so that was one that I got for some of my younger kids to work through as a group. And then my older children, I got this daily math challenge. Notice it's empty, that they were not inspired. But I have been using it because I am not really math abled. And so I have been challenging myself as well. So, your kids learn by example and learn by seeing you, and you should always be learning as well. So a couple more little STEM ideas that were fun just to throw in for the summertime. This was a doodle math book. And then these 2, I think, are an Osborne book. And I'm sure you all, if you're a homeschooler, you know somebody who sells Osborne books. But this is not a math book, and then another one. And this was one that was just a fun one. Sometimes I would just pull out a stack of pages and hand those to my kids in the summertime and be like, hey, this is just what we're going to do to just maintain our skills. And so if there's an area that maybe they just need a little remediation or they need a little extra study, maybe you don't want to do that summer slide and you don't want to start over again after summer. So you just want to keep everybody fresh and moving forward in a topic that you have mastery, but you just want to stay sharp. And so those are some opportunities to do that. You also maybe have a missed topic. Maybe you just are completely realize that, oh my gosh, we have not done this and we need to introduce it. So a couple of things about that. I have this 50 states. Geography has been a big part of our curriculum, but I realized that I think we were talking about where we were going, and there wasn't a real clear understanding of where all the states were in relationship to each other. So we just did a quick 50 states study, and didn't take very much time at all, but it was just a fun break from our school. And we spent some time, looking up the different states, looking up things that are there, especially if you're planning a vacation or you're planning a trip. That's a great time to break out some geography and maybe do a little bit of study. As we've done travel trips before, I have printed out packets for the kids during our road trip that just talks about the states we're going through, maybe shows some of their features, so you can be all homeschooly about it and involve your kids and just make it really fun. And it doesn't have to be like a chore task. It can be fun books. It can be things that you really enjoy. Sorry about that. Okay, then also, like last year, we got really behind in language arts. I chose to drop that as a subject from the middle of our school year because we just were readjusting our schedule, and we were trying to pack in a lot of work into a smaller school time. And so I had given them some other just workbook type things to work through on their own, but I didn't take language arts as a formal subject that we addressed. We worked through workbooks. We didn't totally skip it, but I just felt like we didn't really cover it as well as I would have wanted to. And so a book like this, Writer's Ink, is just one that systematically goes through language arts teaching. So it just goes through everything in a really easy, straightforward form. So this is something that maybe if you just wanted to all of us are going to hit a middle school review and know that we're on the same page. Something like this would be a great unit study that you can just pull together some writing material, and you can just focus on this. I know writing is one of those things that it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of feedback. And so sometimes when we're in the thick of it, it's really hard to give great feedback. And it's hard to be inspired, and it's hard to inspire your kids. And so maybe sometimes pulling something that is a difficult subject and saying, let's just do this as an independent study over 6 weeks and really knock it out well. That is one of the ways that you can do that. So another way is just to dig deeper in an area that your child is already interested in. And so if your child has an interest, we're looking at, as we're going through school, I remember when we read the book, Carry On, Mr. Bowditch. Fantastic book, life-changing for me as an educator and even as a lifelong learner. I was so inspired by this book. But one of the things was he was a sailor, and it talked a lot about sailing. And when the book ended, we moved on to the next book, and the kids were really interested in sailing. They wanted to know more. And I recognized that they were really interested at that time. And instead of pushing on to the next book, I thought, we homeschool. We can take advantage of having more time, and we can take advantage of the ability to make choices. And so one of the things we did was we took a little break, and I checked out all of the books at the library about sailboats and pirate ships and pirates. And we just went full bore for a couple of weeks and just read everything we could get their hands on, while our kids were inspired. So if you hit a topic in your school that your children show interest in, this is not public school. You do not have to shut it down and say, hey, we have to move on because the book says we need to be somewhere else. You can pursue those interests, and who knows what kind of golden nuggets you will find if you let your kids chase their enthusiasm as part of their education. And I'm going to share a little bit more about that and some great examples we've had in our family as well. But make a big deal about your kids' interests, the things that they're excited about. I want you to help them find ways to pursue that and be equally enthusiastic with them. Then also create a hunger to learn. So as you see that appetite grow, feed them with interesting things. Feed them books about that same topic. Maybe get them involved in a club or an activity or something where they can go deeper. I have been dying to I have one kid who's just a rock hound and loves dinosaurs. And we have a state park in our area that you can go hunt for fossils. And this summer we are we've got to go there because I know he would love it and I would love it because I love rocks. But just following that while we're still enchanted about hunting for things, I think we just need to capture that time period as well. So be open with your eyes and ears and watching for opportunities to capture your child's interest and invest there. Then to explore new topics. So sometimes maybe we just want to give them a taste of something new. Your kids are exploring something, or maybe this year, and I don't know if that was in my notes here, but this year I asked my girls, you guys need to pick something that you want to learn about or invest in, and I want you to just choose one thing and let me know what that is, and we're just going to invest some time and materials, and I want you to explore something new this year. And so I want to encourage you that if your child maybe is in a place where they don't have a real interest, then maybe just let's explore a few things in a short unit study. So maybe you just say 2 weeks or 3 weeks we're going to dig into this topic, and we're going to clear off our schedule and maybe just do our light core topics in the morning and then spend the afternoon doing this thing. So a few of those examples, we were big into crafting, and so this was like, I would see that, but amiguri, so just a little crocheted animals and things. This is actually great for following instructions, reading, critical thinking, all of those things, and then creativity, because once they understand how to do this, they start making their own things and be really creative. So some ideas. This ancient book I pulled off my shelf, this is hilarious, digital photography. Do you love this camera? This is probably going to go in the garbage. But I have several versions of digital photography books that we have bought when the kids have wanted a camera. We just got a camera and invested a little bit so they could play. Stop motion explosion. This was a super fun. We did stop action movies, and I think we'll have to break this out again for our next set of kids and try that. Film school for teens. This was a course my kids took this year and they loved it. It was really, really fun. And it talked all about, they, not we, because this was an online course. And so they watched movies and then had some critical questions about how they portrayed specific things through film. And so it was a really fun way to just explore film. I'm like, hey, if you guys are going to watch YouTube videos, we're going to explore how the other side works. Like, how do people get paid making YouTube videos? How do you create great content? And so film school was one way that I could get kind of behind the scenes of making films, because I don't want to be passive in everything we do. And so we're going to add some action. And so that was one way we added some action to just watching films and movies. We also have things like creative lettering. So maybe some calligraphy classes, some letter art. As you see an interest, then, dive deep into those things. And also maybe just give your children some incentive. This was just like a draw everything. And it was just an easy book that you just jump in and draw things every day. I just got this for my daughter. But I thought, man, it just has like one little prompt a day. And then maybe check in with each other, maybe challenge each other and see what you could produce, and be silly and be fun and have a great time while you're doing it. A couple more ideas. This one was just a guide to drawing on the go. So just a really simple, fun book. I actually won this on the internet, which is really cool. But just really loose and free sketch, just showing kids that, like, you know what, you don't have to like be in depth. You don't have to be some fabulous, great artist to begin. You can just begin. And that's one thing that we need to express to our kids in unit studies, is that we can do things in small bites and they don't have to be perfect. And that's kind of the beauty of stepping in on a smaller scale, is you're not committed deeply. And so you can just try something out and see if you guys like it and if you want to explore further. And then when you're done, you can scrap it. And you're not committed to anything. And so it's a great way to try something out, especially if your child has expressed an interest and you're not so sure if they're going to follow through, then maybe a smaller unit study is a great way to do that. We're going to talk about building a bigger unit study coming up here. But one more reason to create flexibility that you need for your family. And I shared how our giant family has used unit studies as a way to just lighten our workload. And so make more sense. So for us, that works is we sit together as a group and we read our history, social studies, readers. So that covers multi-topics. Usually our science is something that we read aloud together. So now those core subjects are done. So as we finished our reading time, our social studies is finished, our reading is finished. Usually that ties to our language arts assignment, and so that comes off of the books that we've read. Then also our science we've read aloud together. So those things are now finished, and in a few hours of reading, it's done. We usually do Bible as well, and so that subject is finished. And then my children go on and do their own specific, maybe math. If they have a science workbook that they're working through, they do their own science, but they do their things that are appropriate for their grade level and age level. They'll do those independently. But now we've satisfied the reading for 6 kids at one time. And I love when I can cook once and eat 3 times. And so I feel like doing school that way is basically the equivalent of cooking once and eating 3 times, which is a fantastic way to do that. So creating a unit study. Let's talk a little bit about what goes into making a unit study. And I will share with you, trying to think the best way to do that. I think I'll add the link in here, but also if you catch me on social media, and Instagram is the place that I live, and so I'm at 200 Fingers and Toes on Instagram. And if you DM me and just say unit study, I will send you back the PDF to the unit study I built. We made one for government and economics because I just couldn't find a good fit for my kids that I had in high school at the time. And we had a range of ages because of course we schooled them together. And so I had a senior and I knew he was going to need government and economics, but I also had a 9th grader and a 10th grader and an 8th grader. And so I wanted them to be able to work together. And I also wanted to keep our reading time together. And so I needed to find some books that kind of covered the whole range from early elementary up so we could all stay on the same topic. So if you DM me unit study, I will send you the PDF file and you can look at a unit study and how it's built from the ground up. But I want to share a little bit so that you can get an idea how to build your own unit study. So what I want you to do first is I want you to find the topic that you're going to be studying. So whatever you're going to work on, say you're going to work on early American history. And so you've chosen a time period for this year, and maybe you want to do a full year study. That government and economics was a 2-part, a 16-week study. And so I want you to say, okay, next year we're going to study the Industrial Revolution or whatever you've chosen. And then I want you to look for just one core book. I call it a spine of your unit study. So this is the book you're going to base everything else around it. It's basically the sun of your unit study. So a few of those, if you've seen like The Story of the World, or I think Mystery of History has some great time periods as well. I love this book if you're working with a broad range of ages. This is a child's history of the world, and this is just a fantastic book. I will also put together a book list in my Amazon, and I will share the link to that in the PDF that I give you as a download for this session. So that will be on there, and in my Amazon I will just create some book lists with this specific unit study and maybe a few more ideas of just unit study ideas so that you can see those and just take a look at them. I don't care if you buy them, but I just want you to be able to find them at one click and make your life easy, because that's why I do this, is because I just want our lives to be a little bit easier, and I want to help you have the skills and knowledge and empower you to make the choices for your homeschool that fit you best. So this one was the World Wars. Fabulous. I think it's another just Osborne book, and very big, lots of pictures. This one is internet linked, so you can go on a bunch of the internet links and get further information. So if you have a techie kid who likes their tech, this is one way that you can incorporate tech in a really healthy way. But when I use these books as a spine for building a unit study, typically what I do is I will go to the table of contents and I will read through that table of contents. This one is not as helpful because it has some creative titles. Okay, so let's look at The Story of the World. I'm familiar with that book, so I know what's in it, but if you don't, this is much easier. So it's just going to go right through the chapters, and I'll see that we've got the earliest people. We've got the Egyptians that lived on the River Nile. Okay, as you're looking, you're going to see like, okay, what are some of the topics that this book is going to hit on throughout the year? Then I can start being creative about writing out, okay, I know the kids are going to be interested in that. So Egypt, we would definitely do a study on Egypt. So now I'm going to do some searching, maybe through my library, maybe through my own personal library. Maybe I'll look online or the used bookstore, and I'll start peeling out some books that will satisfy maybe 1 to 2 weeks. So I'm going to look at this and say like, okay, how many chapters are in this book? So how long is it going to go? This book has 42 chapters. And so if I have a 36-week homeschool, I'm probably just gonna go through 36. And so I know I'm gonna cover those things, and then that's one a week. So if I think of that, I can kind of chunk these out and see, well, it goes through Egypt all the way up to 16 and 17. So I could spend half the year covering Egypt. Now that may sound like a lot to you, or for you, that might be like, that is amazing because that is 15 weeks. That's a good amount of time. That's 3 months of school where we can explore new things. We can maybe take a couple field trips, maybe go to the museums that have some things that came from Egypt. Lots of opportunities there. So as you look through the chapter headings in this book, you're going to get an idea of the topics that are available for you within the boundaries of this subject. So that's the beauty of using a spine, is it really helps you just stay cohesive while you're building a unit study, but you still have the flexibility you want because you can choose to skip a chapter, you can choose to condense 2 chapters, you can change the pace and speed as you see it fits your family or appropriateness, and especially if you have a special interest. I personally am obsessed with Greek history. And so I saw that this is going to cover the story of the Greeks, and I'm like, we are going to have a Greek mythology unit for sure. And so I know a couple of books that are my favorites that I want to read to the kids. And so I already know that like 3 weeks of this is going to be on Greek myths and comparing the truth of who God is in comparison to gods made by men. That is just one of my favorite things to study when we study Greek history. And so you can be creative and you can include your passions, because I will tell you, if you're excited about teaching something, it is way more fun to translate your enthusiasm to your children. And so find ways that you're excited about sharing things as well. So also, it is a great way to introduce your favorite topics. So one of the other reasons is to introduce your favorite things. I know when my kids were little, I wanted to read out loud to them, but I knew I would be bored if I just read kid books. And so I had never read the Little House on the Prairie series. And so I chose that as our read aloud time. And that was before the kids were formally in school. I just had 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 newborn. So we had nap time and I needed to read to keep everybody in a place until they all fell asleep. And so because I was interested, then it was way more fun for me to have story time because I was interested in the books and I wanted to read. And so I encourage you to find books that you can't wait to finish. So creating a unit study, solid chapters for reference, going to that spine. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that's the beauty of using these spine books, is that you already have a good basis for you to build your unit study off of. So if you're creative and you're like, I just wanna go with the flow, then do it. Totally run with it. I know me, and if I am in charge of building it from the ground up, I will get 3 weeks in and crash and burn because I need structure. So choosing a spine book for me helps give me the structure, but I still have the flexibility to choose what I want. And so I encourage you to look at that way as well. Then looking for more subtopics. So you can look at closely related topics. Like we said, like Egypt, well, how does that expand out? Where do we go from there? What is the land like? We could explore lots of things. We can hit geography. We can do a lot of topics within just that one item. We could go into pharaohs and study deeper about pharaohs. So again, just thinking a little more broadly about those things. So the people groups, the time periods. Also, you can put that into Google and hey, studying Egypt history for 5th graders. Boom. There is a list of resources that you can start to scroll through and get an idea of what kinds of things are out there that you maybe are interested in or would like to build on or didn't know about in the first place. So I encourage you to do a little searching. It's really easy just to click and do that. A variety of input modes. So also picture books. Picture books are a great way for your children to learn a lot. First of all, they're interesting, they're captivating, they're beautiful, but usually picture books are made for adults to read to children. So they have a much higher reading level and much higher introduction of new words. It's going to come through picture books in all reality. So, I mean, not board books, but picture books are made for adults to read to children. And so they're expecting that you're going to have an adult person. And so they're built with a much richer language than even age appropriate and age assigned chapter books. So don't think that you're going backwards by picking up a bunch of beautiful picture books and sharing those with your children. And the library is stuffed full of them. So do not bypass that, because it is a great way for you to engage your students and also captivate them and teach them some new things while broadening their vocabulary and helping them build really great language skills. So don't skip the picture books. Also, I have used YouTube as a weapon in my homeschool. No, not really. But when we were studying American history, I realized that my kids like to get up and would try to put on YouTube in the morning. And I'm like, that is not happening. You need to get up, get dressed. If you've seen me, you know. Get up, get dressed, brush teeth, make your beds, take care of your laundry, eat your breakfast, be ready for school. So all of those things need to happen. But I did realize that I could use it to my advantage. And so in YouTube, you can create a watch list. And so I just created an early American history watch list. And whatever topic we were learning about, I spent about 20 minutes and I would put that words or keywords into YouTube and I would find great educational videos, some very long, some very short, and I would order those in a watch list. And then when the kids wanted to watch something in the morning, if maybe I was behind or I had a call or I was working with another student, then I would say, hey, you guys can hit your watch list. And they would just click on that and it would just scroll through all of the videos that I wanted them to see. We did it also for science and biology. So we were talking about microscopes, and there are some great videos that share about microscopes and everything about them and how to use them and what germs are. It was great. It was fantastic. And so not only did they get what they wanted, but actually I was getting what I wanted because they were learning a ton and they were really enthusiastic about it. So it was a win-win. So YouTube is not your enemy. Like, we can use these things as tools to learn and grow and use them to our advantage as well. So hands-on activities, be sure to add some things hands-on. So if you can find something fun, I know we had a book that was how to make a mummy, and you like wrapped up a hot dog and it was gross, and then they kept it for like a year, and that had a little sarcophagus that you made, and so it was just fun, but just a cute hands-on activity. It was like less than $20, and just a way to add some value and interest and maybe some memorable moments while you study, especially if you've got hands-on learners, if you've got tactile kids, then be aware of the ways that you can just help them learn from all levels and all locations. So that means auditory, you're reading to them, visual, they're reading, kinesthetic, they're touching and hands-on, just all of the ways that kids get input, get some opportunities to use all of those as well. And then a range of reading ages. So I already shared about picture books, but definitely do not overlook picture books and use those to your advantage during your reading time, especially if you have a broad age. That is also a great way to have an older child read to the younger children, is by getting some fun picture books and having them read out loud to them. It's a great practice. Reading out loud is just a vital practice in this day and age. And so I encourage you to give your children opportunities to practice reading out loud to others, and it will be greatly to their benefit. So creating a schedule. I want to talk a little bit about creating a schedule, and then I will just show you the study I have. So summer months versus the school year. Let's talk about those two. So during the school year, in Iowa, I only have to school for 148 days as a minimum. And so that's basically 30 weeks. My curriculum that I purchase goes up to 36 weeks because it covers all people in different states, and some states have 180 days. So you need to know your laws for your state. But in Iowa, I can do 148 days, which is 30 weeks. So 30 weeks, breaking your unit studies into like units of maybe 3 weeks, 6 weeks, or 8 weeks is a great amount to have some flexibility. So if you did, how many unit studies are needed to complete a school year then? If I did a 30-week school year, 5 6-week units would do my school year. So if you wanted to do shorter units, 5 of those. So that's 5 related topics, 5 great periods of history or people groups that you can cover with some intensity over the school year. So that just gives you an idea like, okay, 5, that's not overwhelming. That's not a lot to have to choose from. Also, 30 weeks, if you did 8-week-long units, then you just have 4 8-week-long units. That's 2 months in a topic. And then that gives you 2 weeks for a buffer. So 2 weeks to maybe do a deep dive in electives, maybe 2 weeks to go on some field trips and take some hands-on learning time as well. So just giving you ideas of how long that takes. Now in the summer studies are typically shorter. So we could look at 3-week studies is a great amount to start with. Start smaller and then choose closely related topics. So again, and always include field trips if you can. So over the summer, like we talked about, introducing the topics your children are interested in and maybe giving them a little deeper dive before you invest in them. In my other talk, I talked about electives and how great electives are if you can peel them off of your regular school and include those in your summer activities. And so talking about unit studies, maybe you could take that one elective and create a whole unit study around it. I have a daughter, like I said, she loves graphic art, and we are going to start a advertising, commercial art, graphics unit study, and we're just going to talk about marketing. And honestly, I need somebody to help me with graphics, and so I'm like, I'm just going to train my own graphic designer. I mean, I'm the parent, so I can teach her to use her skills, and then I'll just have her practice on things that we need to make anyway. So that sounds like a fantastic win-win. And then she adds value to me, and she becomes an important part of my business and my life. And that's what our kids want to be, is valued. They want to know they have a valuable and important place in the family. And so as we build on their talents and interests, they realize that they have value to add back to the world and to us. And so that's the goal of homeschooling, is to build confident and inspired kids who want to pursue learning as a goal for the rest of their life, because that's what we are and that's what we want to be. So now, unit studies simplified. If you want to do it a real easy way, just to start with, curating interest with strewing. Okay, strewing. I don't know if I made up this word. I think I saw it somewhere, but strewing. Basically, this is what I do. I go to the library and I think, like with the ship thing, my kids were interested in ships, but I'm like, I'm not gonna schedule out all of the books to learn about ships, and I'm not gonna probably go intense unit study form. So what I did was I just got all the books, and I got a little pirate shippy game that had little board things that stuck together, and you could create your own pirate ship. And we have a round table in our entryway, and I just plopped them all on the round table, and I walked away, and I just left it there. And I was like, they're interested right now. And so I just left this pile of books, and you would not believe, flies to honey, they were like, ooh, ship books, fun. And slowly they read through all of those books. And so you can do some low intensity unit studies for your kids as well, and they can learn just for pleasure. And I want our kids to know that you can learn for pleasure, and that be as equally as important as learning because we have to. And so they should have a balance between the two. You never know where their next big interest is going to come from. And so sometimes just collecting a little collection of books and throwing them out there, they might find the thing that they really want to learn more about from just that one interaction with that subject. And so you just never know where they're going to run. So observe your kids' interests. We've shared that before. Allow exploration time and count it as school hours. Give your kids school credit for pursuing their interests, right? They deserve school credit. Do not discount the things that they are doing and say, oh yeah, no, that's not academic enough. Because honestly, their pursuits are learning and filling them with knowledge. And if it's causing them to dig deeper, to look for answers, then they are learning in that capacity. And so I want to always make their interests creditable and find a way to do that. So, and then the last thing, don't ruin the fun. So sometimes our kids are hungry for a topic, and then we turn it into school, and we just ruin all the fun in it. So if you see your kid hungry and they want to do something, don't over school it if they're pursuing their interest on their own and they're diving deep without being pushed. Let them continue and just keep putting the tools in front of them that will let them do that. Don't overschool their interests. And I was just going to share, that was this year with my daughters. I said, hey, I need you to pick something. Pick something that you want to dive deep in. I have one daughter, 8th grade, and she's just not real thrilled about school. And so I just needed to capture her heart and her interests and just get her hungry to learn and get her excited about things again. And so she decided she wanted a goat. Now, we haven't had animals in a long time. We do live in the country, and so we can have a goat. We have an outbuilding where we had animals before. And so I was like, you know what? I'm all in. Like, let's get the goat. So we got a goat, and it is hilarious. Then the goat needed a friend, so we got another goat. And then came fall, and we decided to breed the goats. And so this spring, we have the cutest baby goats you'd ever see in all your life. Like, I will have to put a little picture in the PDF because they just are adorable. But here's the thing. The other kids are like, Brindley doesn't do her school. And even my mom was like, is Brindley doing school? Is she working on stuff? But what I knew as a mom is that she has been reading every book I gave her about raising goats. She has been watching YouTube. She shows me goat auctions on her phone and is tracking the market price. She is looking at breeders and looking at their websites and discovering how they sell their goats, who they're connected with, what they do. She wrote me out pages and pages of what to do when baby goats are born. She watched so many YouTube videos about how to deliver a baby goat if there's a problem. She got me a whole list of the things that we needed for supplies for when the baby goats got here that I needed to order from Amazon. She has tracked her feed and just done all of these things. And to the untrained mind, people say, she's not doing school. But is she not doing school? Honestly, I mean, we are reading, we are doing math. She does have assignments, but this child is digging deep and investing in her interests. And to the untrained mind, they are discounting all of the learning that has happened this year with a passion and an interest. I could have made her write me a report about Russia with zero interest. And with hate in her heart, she would have written me the report on Russia and turned it in begrudgingly and met the minimum requirement. It wouldn't have thrilled me nearly as much to be handed a stack of handwritten notebook pages stapled together, written in multicolor pen so that different points stayed together, and charts and graphs written on this paper. Nothing could be more beautiful to me as a homeschooling parent. So when I say don't overschool a thing, allow your children to dig deep and give them some trust to explore their interests. And when they do, give it the value it deserves. So beginning with unit studies, help your child learn for themselves and then continue that on. So I hope that inspires you, and I hope that makes you see maybe what your children is doing on their own in a different light, and see a way that you can give them credit or integrate that into their school. And I talk a lot about giving our kids headship of their school, especially as they get older and teens. Like, they need to make decisions about the classes they take. They need to be able to give input into the things that they're learning. And as we as parents should be having those conversations. And so I encourage you, if that's new to you, then man, jump out this year and maybe do some exploring together and have a conversation. So real quick, I just wanted to show you an example of the unit study I created just as a quick overview of a multi-age unit study. So again, this one, we used a core. So this was government and economics. So again, for any topic, this was just a real quick example. So Congress for Dummies, this is actually the one we used. It was the Complete Idiot's Guide to U.S. Government and Politics. And again, I just looked through the chapter headings and kind of broke it up into the time frame that we needed. So these were our core spine books that we used to read through. And I just assigned those through the school year. And then according to the different topics, I just maybe got some books to go with that. So then for economics, I love these Uncle Richard series, and there is like the Money Mystery and Whatever Happened to Penny Candy. So just great little quick easy read, very digestible, written for anybody to understand, but every adult should read these books. They're really fantastic about understanding economics and what is happening in the world and how money works in real life. So we added those as a little series, so that was for them to read on their own. Because we were in government and economics, I think we talk about leadership and business. So John Maxwell is a great guy to find some books that maybe relate to your teen and just get them inspired about leadership. Because listen, if we want to raise people who understand government and how it works and understand policies, then we also need to understand that we need to raise leaders as well. And so that was when we wanted to inspire them a little bit. Then Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I read out loud to them. And this Rich Dad, Poor Dad also has a little question and answer section. And so I assigned that to them. Since then, I have found Rich Dad and Poor Dad for teens. And so I now have it assigned to them in that unit study. And then since we had a multi-age of children, then I don't know if you've seen the books by the Tuttle twins or the Tuttle twin books. They are by Connor Boyack, and they're just fantastic. They're actually some really, really great economics books. And they have basically taken them and digested them to like a 5th grade level and rewritten the story in story form so that your children can understand and discuss those topics. And so I think they had a bundle offer. I bought the whole series, and I assigned these to the younger kids. So while my older kids were doing economics, my younger kids were exploring the same topic at the same time. So we could kind of stay together on our pace. And actually I had them listen when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad as well, because we can't start too early with being wise. And so it's amazing what your little kids can learn. And if they learn to be able to listen, they will pick up so much. I have always read over my children's reading level, and I think our kids have always scored off the charts in vocabulary and reading comprehension because they've just learned to listen by example. So Made You Look was a book about advertising and how advertisers work, because I thought, if we're talking about spending money and using money, then we're talking about how people are trying to get our money as well. So that one we added. And then God and Politics was our Bible topic book at the same time. And so that kind of gives you an idea of like a rounded out study, what it looks like. So we had our core, we had some additional books to go with that. And then we had some things about leadership. We had some things about economics. We had some things for the younger children, touching on politics. And of course, then they did their language arts and science and math as well. So this just covered that core topic. And then we added a game. So this is Cash Flow for Kids. And this was just a fun, fun like Monopoly kind of game that kids can learn how economics works. And so I just wanted to like give several elements of things that we have done and added. So this one, I actually have the unit study and it is on my website for free. So I just built it and I have some schedule samples and I have the full schedule, and you can shift it and change it, but it gives you an example. And so I will have that link in, I believe, the swag bag, and then also in the PDF that you get, I will have that. So last thing, it's been 45 minutes. That is a lot. I hope you found value in this discussion. I hope that you found inspiration, and I hope that you have an idea. Maybe this sparked a way to solve a problem for you. That's my goal. I help homeschoolers create their best homeschool experience. Not my best, not my ideal, not your neighbor's ideal, not your auntie's ideal, your ideal homeschool experience. So take away what you can that gives you value and maybe solves your problems. So the last thing I want you to do, in the comments of this discussion, of this session, I am going to do a one-on-one extra bonus teaching at the end after this whole conference is over. That is my bonus to you. But I would love some input about the topics that you would like to hear about. And so if you could sit down like this, me and you just having coffee and sharing our hearts about what things are on your heart and maybe the things that I've experienced in my 20 years of homeschooling, what would you like to hear more about in depth? So in the comments, will you leave a comment so that I can hear all of your voices? And then when it comes time to have that teaching, I will meet with you again and we will cover those topics and I'll share a little bit more. So it has been an absolute pleasure, and I hope you catch the other teachings because it's going to free up your time, help you pursue your goals, and also maybe give your kids some creative license during the summer to explore their interests. And I'm going to give you some fun ways to look at that in a cool capacity for summer. So I hope you have a beautiful summer. I hope your homeschooling is going fantastically, and I hope you have the best year ever. I created tools to help you do that at 200fingersandtoes.com. So check out my website if you want reviews, if you want to read more, if you want just, a homeschool buddy to encourage you and walk alongside you. That's what we're here for. So again, my name is Amber Smith, and I will see you soon. Have a beautiful day.